Sorry I'm late. I just got back. You're gonna have to give me a few minutes to get all this stuff off.
Ugh, might keep it on. You got Buffalo next.
Oh my God, we did it!
My dick is big, my dick is wide, my dick is huge.
That's right. Super Bowl, here we come.
So you're saying there's a chance.
We're ready to tear this baby up. Why? Good afternoon, football fans, and welcome to this super wild card weekend recap of the Trajan Sportcast. I am your host, professional wrestler and Kansas City Chiefs fanatic, Christian Temple, joined alongside, as always, by my good friend, the freshly eliminated, terrible towel twirling Trajan. At least you weren't blown out, right?
At least we weren't blown out. It wasn't a Eagles or Dallas situation.
Exactly. It could have been a whole lot worse like that, huh?
Yeah, it still hurts.
It still hurts. I could only imagine, honestly. But yep, there was a lot of hurts going on too. Not a whole lot of Jalen Hurts though, unfortunately for the Eagles fans. But I'll have plenty to say about that later on. Yes, the Super Wild Card Weekend is in the books. A lot of twists, a lot of turns, a couple close games, a lot of blowouts though, and a seventh seed upset for the first time since the seventh seed was added to the equation here. But right now, we're going to talk about our teams, and I'll give Trajan a little bit more time to repair. I will start with the fourth coldest game in NFL playoff history, but the Kingdom still brought the noise, so let's bring it one more time. How about those Chiefs? Where to start? Tyreek Hill's homecoming. Ultimately, it was also Justin Houston's homecoming. The Chiefs, they haven't had the strongest season. The Miami Dolphins, the top three rated offense. The Chiefs, a great defense this year compared to years past too. Something had to give this year, and luckily it gave in favor of Kansas City as they take down the Dolphins of a final score of 26-7. I've said this before. I feel like this was probably the most complete team win that the Chiefs have had all season. Yeah. Which is crazy to think that they saved this performance for the playoffs. It's no secret the Dolphins were clearly out of their element when the elements rolled in, because my God, I could not even imagine taking the field in those conditions. Shout out to all the fans that made the trip to Arrowhead. We kind of alluded in the intro that I was there. I indeed was not there. I actually was wrestling, so I was watching the game in the locker room as this was going on, but it seemed like Arrowhead was still pretty darn well filled up, all things considered, in that weather. So hats off to Chiefs Kingdom, and also hats off to the Dolphins fans that made it out to that game too.
Oof.
Yeah, but that was... Could only imagine the players on the field as well as the fans out there. But speaking of the players, we'll go through some stats here too. Patrick Mahomes, 23 of 41 for one touchdown, 264 yards, no interceptions. Imagine that. When he doesn't throw interceptions, good things happen. It's crazy to think that. Couple noteworthy players, actually three noteworthy players to bring up here too. First being Isaiah Pacheco. Going into this game, obviously, it's a cold game. You know there's not going to be a whole lot of passing going on, although Mahomes did kind of prove that wrong a little bit, considering he threw for 41 pass attempts. Isaiah Pacheco carried the load today, 24 carries, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Ultimately, the touchdown that sealed the deal in the fourth quarter. Patrick Mahomes, two big rushes for 41 yards, including a rush that ended up with a chunk of his helmet going off, landing onto the field. And, it was funny listening to Mahomes after the fact because, he stayed on for those last couple plays. And then when they had the replacement helmet ready for him, it was frozen solid. Because where they put the helmets, I guess, is somewhere like near a heater or on a heater, something like that, to keep them from freezing up. The replacement helmets are in a bag sitting off to the side. So like, and I didn't even notice this in real time too, but like he couldn't even get like the chin strap to stay on. So it was insane. Him having to go from something that was probably felt at least somewhat comfortable and warm to him, going to putting a freaking, I can only imagine like it being a knight helmet, a medieval knight's helmet that was in the freezer for 12 hours. That's probably what it felt like to him. Especially with that bush of hair he's got up on there too. I couldn't even imagine. Another big shout out to Rashee Rice. Once again, making a case that he should be wide receiver number 1 for this team. 8 receptions, 130 yards, including his first ever playoff touchdown. Hats off to Rashee Rice. He showed up big this time. Credit to Mahomes, though. He passed the ball around to a lot of people. Let's see here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 total receivers that Mahomes went to. And that just goes to show, Mahomes, if you can get open and you can catch, he'll try and find you. Speaking of catch, Marquez caught one too. Travis Kelce had a couple drops in this game, but still ended up with 7 receptions for 71 yards. Had a couple clutch catches for third downs that resulted in first downs, kept the drives alive. Noah Gray, 1 catch, 20 yards. Justin Watson, a couple key catches, 20 yards total for him. The defense, though, stepped up big time once again. And I can only imagine, and it's hilarious because they were not afraid to hit as cold as it was. And we'll talk later about how certain other defenses just could not tackle to save their lives. But the Chiefs defense, they were not afraid to lay the hits in this game. It was, the first one you think of is the Trent McDuffie hit on Tyreek Hill on a dump pass to him, just laid him out. He bounced right back up. He didn't lay him out, but still, it was a heck of a hit, especially in that cold temperature. Nick Bolton flying all over the field, 10 total tackles on his day. George Karlaftis, a sack and a half on his part. Chris Jones with half a sack. They got to Tua. They made the pressure. Mike Edwards with the solo interception for the Kansas City defense, which came at a good time because that helped get the Chiefs out to a 2-possession game with a technically game-winning field goal by Harrison Butker. And that was the third player I wanted to shout out to, because it's no secret, the colder the temperature, the harder that ball gets to kick.
Yeah.
And Harrison Butker went 6 for 6 on his kicks, 2 extra points and 4 field goals. Granted, those field goals were not, like 50-yard, 60-yard bombs that we were used to seeing him having. But even still, you can imagine like a 35-yard field goal, especially a 35-yard extra point. It's gotta hurt like a son of a gun.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he was perfect for the day. 4 for 4, 2 for 2 on extra points. Like I said, probably the most outstanding team win for Kansas City, and I guess if there's any time to do it, it's the playoffs.
Yeah. No, you left out the mention that should have been a timeout or a penalty right there that didn't get it. But it's okay. They can bend the rules for the Chiefs. But
we'll talk about bending rules here in a little bit.
Oh yeah. No, the game was over at that point anyways. It looked done, and I texted you right after the Chiefs scored. I'm like, it's over. You guys have this. I didn't even mean it to be like a jinx. I just knew it was done.
The fact that like that first drive, that they just drove down the field like it was nobody's business. I'm like, wow, where's this been all year? And considering they weren't able to get in the end zone every single time, but the fact that they still were able to get down the field with pretty good amount of ease, that was the kind of offensive movement we want to see.
Oh yeah, definitely. The only thing I will say is it is kind of that same old thing of just stalling out right towards the red zone there.
Absolutely.
So have to see that with the Bills game, but overall, Yeah, you guys did a good job.
Yep. And so, yep, as he mentioned, this is going to be the first ever, even though it's technically third time, first time that Mahomes will be playing a playoff game away from Arrowhead Stadium. It'll be a divisional rematch from 2021, the Chiefs versus the Bills, the 13-second game. Oh man, it's gonna be interesting, and we'll find out why here in just a moment, because the Buffalo Bills had themselves a game on Wild Card Weekend at the expense of one Trojans, which brings us to the final edition, at least for Trajan, of I Don't Want to Talk About It, with the Buffalo Bills eliminating the Pittsburgh Steelers 31-17.
Yeah, this segment's right. I don't want to talk about it, so
Let's move on, right?
let's preview this Bills matchup you got. Oh man. So the Steelers lost 31-17. And
on a game that was postponed, by the way. We can't just gloss over that either.
That's true. We were supposed to play Sunday. Blizzard. The Bills are pansies. They made us reschedule it. No, it was blizzard-like conditions. I do think if we play in a blizzard, we win that game. Maybe. I don't know. But we'll just let that be. Uh, we did not have the best first half. I'll just say that. We quickly went down 21-0, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we are gonna get throttled in this game. We're getting embarrassed. We should have never been here. But I will say this for the Pittsburgh Steelers: we do not give up, and we fought to the end. The block field goal towards the end of the game, towards the end of the first half,
Yeah.
there brought some spark into us, and we scored a touchdown. So we go into the half 21-7. George Pickens had a terrible fumble. Mason Rudolph threw an interception in the red zone, in the end zone, and Freiermuth fumbled, but it was okay, I guess.
That was an interesting call, I will say.
I don't get the rule. So he fought for extra yards. It was a big play. And as he goes down, the ball comes out. But he goes out of bounds, and supposedly the football glanced off his helmet while he's out of bounds, and so that makes it out of bounds.
I mean, that is the rule. It's like if someone is out of bounds, same with like the kickoff rule. If a guy like stands out of bounds with the ball still in play and he touches it, it's a kick out of bounds. I didn't see a really definitive angle where it was a shadow of a doubt that it did hit his helmet, but I guess at the same time there was no definitive angle that showed that it did not. So
and the call
on the field was
that. So I'm sure if the Bills lost, there'd be a lot of cries about that, but oh well. One did come our way. I think ultimately it didn't matter because that's when we got the interception in the end zone. So
cannot make that throw.
Yeah, a very bad throw. But I mean, Mason Rudolph, I will give him credit for his grit. He went 22 for 39. Like I said, he started out really bad. That second half, he did very well with targets. 229 yards. It was a cold game. Not quite as cold as yours, but it was still I think like -4 or something like that.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, yeah.
2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The run game just did not get started. Of course, the game kind of dictated that a little bit, getting down 21-0 right away. We kind of had to abandon it. Pat Freiermuth was our leading receiver. Who knew? We had a tight end that was the leading receiver.
Been nice to use him more this year, right?
Maybe. Pickens made some catches. He made some boneheaded moves. I mean, that's just being young, fighting for extra yards, lost the ball in our own I think it was like 30 or 25, something
Yeah.
like that. Very close to the red zone. Deontay Johnson, he made some moves there, 48 yards. Biggest storyline going into here, though, was TJ Watt was out. And so we had to have players step up. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say they did a terrible job because, like I said, 14 points of the Bills was off of turnovers. But they did not do the best job. It's not the worst, but it was not the best. And the tackling was subpar. I can't believe
Uh,
Patrick did not tackle him. He's usually our rock, but he did look rusty. This was his first game back since week 15. I don't think he was 100% either. He kind of rushed to get back in. Cam Hayward, he was rock solid. 6 total tackles, 4 solo. They kind of steered clear of the run when he was in. So, but unfortunately, this might be his last year. But biggest one that ticked me off was the Joey Porter Jr. getting knocked out of the game because a certain offensive lineman just thought he could spear a guy. But you don't get a penalty for that because he's a defensive player. But I don't know. It mostly comes down to what did I truly expect with Mason Rudolph as the quarterback? I mean, I'm not trying to diss on him at all, but he's not a Josh Allen. He's not a Joe Burrow. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. Apparently, he's not even a Baker Mayfield. But yeah, it hurts because we got in. They were 24-17. We got within a touchdown through all that adversity, but we let them drive down the field, and it was just over. So, hats off to the team. And all of this has convinced me, though, we're going to the Super Bowl next year.
You heard it. You heard it here first, guys. Oh man. Before I move off to the other wild card games, it's interesting. I look at the box score, and you take away that first quarter, and it seems like a dead even heat all the way through. It's just Buffalo got out of the starting blocks a lot better, and just some key mistakes by the Steelers, and that was ultimately the difference.
Yeah, no, it was painful, and I was quite embarrassed at first, but I ended up proud, I guess I should say.
You gave him a fight.
Proud, yeah, we gave up a fight. Not 30 something to 9.
Exactly. So, well, some final thoughts for the Pittsburgh Steelers season. Do you consider this season a success? Do you kind of see it as breaking even? Do you foresee any huge changes coming on in the year? What are some immediate thoughts regarding the playoff exit in the eyes of you?
It depends on what time you would have asked me if this was success. Preseason me? No, this was not be a success. But after week 1, when we got our dicks kicked in, yeah, I'd say this was a success. We got some answers from this year. Kenny Pickett probably isn't it. He'll get a chance to prove himself next year. We finally got rid of Matt Canada, so that's a success. So he is gone. Tomlin said he's going to be going outside the organization for an offensive coordinator. So maybe we get some offensive young mind to come in and turn this thing around. I don't know. I think 10 wins. And if you saw all the injuries we had, we were on our, I think, 5th string in our middle linebacker core.
The linebacker core was just wrecked this year.
It was. And, I mean, that hurt. I mean, we started out before they got injured, doing very well. And that really hurt. But I think this group is going to come together. We had a great draft last year. Some of those rookies started playing, and they look promising. So maybe we get a few more draft picks. Maybe we get a veteran present as QB, kind of help mentor Pickett. Maybe, I don't know.
Only time will tell. It's this off season is going to be worth the wait, even for a lot of other teams, and I'm sure for Pittsburgh there's a lot of things they'll be looking at too, especially at the offensive coordinator position. But that is a conversation for another day. Right now, we'll be going on to the other matchups from Wild Card Weekend, starting with the Saturday afternoon matchup, which we were all really looking forward to, but man, it just at a certain point it just got out of hand, and it was a letdown, I guess, at the end of the day. The Houston Texans take care of business against the Cleveland Browns, 45-14 at home, with what may have been Joe Flacco's last game. We shall see, and what was really C.J. Stroud, picking up where he left off this regular season and showing that he belongs in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I mean, at first it looked like we were gonna have a barn burner. They were just trading touchdowns, and then the Texans ran away. Those two pick sixes were nails in the coffin.
Yep.
It's just funny how a certain defensive player of the year just disappeared.
Crazy, right?
Crazy.
So, yep, the two aforementioned pick sixes, Steven Nelson and Christian Harris, on back-to-back plays, back-to-back throws from. Yeah, exactly. There's a name from both of our pasts, right? Crazy that he's still in the league.
When he did that, I was like, he's still around?
He's still around. That's what I thought too. Because man, he was around during the freaking Alex Smith years, for God's sake. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, after that third quarter, it wasn't even a contest anymore. I mean, you still got to kind of tip your cap to the Browns, because like this year coming in, like no one really thought that they would be in the position they were. Obviously, when the Joe Burrow thing went down, that changed a lot of things. The Ravens, I mean, once they took a hold of the division, they kind of just ran off with it. But Cleveland, they were bitten by the injury bug early this year with, Nick Chubb going out in week 2, season-ending injury. And then it's just, take your pick, a wide receiver here, a defensive guy here and everything. And then Deshaun Watson goes down, and hey, is Joe Flacco still around? Someone got his number, comes up off the couch and helps lead this team to a playoff spot, not even just a playoff spot, like the top wild card spot, and kept it competitive for at least one half, but just fell apart at the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, Texans definitely look feisty. That was the number one defense that they totally dismantled. I mean, 2 of it was on their offense, okay, but yeah, that's not quite as bad as a certain other team's total implosion on their defense. I think this is also another defensive player of the year's team, right?
Crazy, right? Yeah. And it was also history, ladies and gentlemen. The 7th seed Green Bay Packers go into Jerry World and just absolutely smash Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, and the Dallas Cowboys by a final score of 48-16. That's right, I said 48-16 because garbage time don't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of moral victories Cowboys fans want to have. It was over by the end of the first quarter.
Yep. I mean, when the defense is just making it prevent defense in the end of the third to the fourth, and not trying to get injured because they're beating you so bad in a playoff game, that's just bad.
Mm-hmm. Although it was kind of funny that Jordan Love was taken out of the game and then was actually called back in because it's getting a little uncomfortable here. It's like we got to make sure we keep our foot on the gas here too. So,
gosh, could you imagine the meltdown if that would have happened?
Dan Quinn would have been vindicated for 28-3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. So, yep, Darnell Savage with the 64-yard interception. That was the moment where I was like, wow, the Cowboys are actually done. Like, there is no coming back from this. Aaron Jones, 3 touchdowns in this game. Jordan Love, I mean, for what everyone says about Jordan Love, not being not going to be the guy that lives up to Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers and all that too. he certainly played like he belonged in the playoff spotlight, even on the road at Jerry World too. It was the most comfortable I think I've seen him be all year long.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, gosh, I mean, some teams can handle him, but I guess others can't.
Exactly. I see what you're going with there. I'll let you have that, considering how this weekend went for you. So
But the next
and
one I think was nice.
what was that?
The next game I think was a pretty good.
Oh, we're not done with Dallas yet too, because it has been announced. It has been announced that Mike McCarthy will be returning to the Cowboys this year. I never change. Never change, Jerry. Never change. We never get tired of this.
Which, I mean, I don't think is terrible decision. I mean,
It'll be a great regular season next year.
It will be a great regular season. I mean, they will have great stats at home. Sometime the refs are going to bail him out to get him the number 1 seed.
Which will make it even funnier. It'll make it even funnier when they lose in the divisional round.
I would love to see them be the number 1 seed next year. And then first round exit again.
Wouldn't
that just be hilarious?
Well, you know what they say. When Dallas loses, America wins. But I'll tell you what, speaking of America, there was one team on Sunday that America, I think, was rooting for. Only because it's been playoff futility for over 30 years. It's crazy to think, over 30 years without a playoff win. But the Detroit Lions, and you couldn't have scripted this any better, right? Matt Stafford, leading the Rams, is coming home to Ford Field, a place he is all too familiar with, to the fans that once loved him and cherished him. He goes on the field and he's booed out of the building immediately. And you want to talk about a slugfest. I mean, the Lions came out firing. The Rams came out with the counter in the second quarter. There were no touchdowns scored in the third and fourth quarter. It was a defensive slugfest, and at the end of the day, the Detroit Lions get their first playoff win at home, and they're going back next week for another home playoff game. I mean, if you're a Lions fan, you can't ask for much better than this, can you?
Do you think the Cowboys felt sorry for what they did to Detroit? Let them
I mean, no, absolutely not. Cowboys got straight punched in the mouth, and that's just so funny to think about. Unbelievable game, honestly. This was one of those games where at first you think it's like, all right, so the Lions are going to make a statement right here, but the Rams would not die. The Rams would not go away. And
Puka
Nacua as well. But it came down to that final drive, and the Lions defense stopped the Rams. The Rams decide not to go for it. It was 4th and 14, so that's kind of asking a lot. You try to trust your defense, but Amon-Ra St. Brown gets that key first down, and the Lions hold on and win. And you gotta take those ugly wins, those hard fought wins, and that's got to build some confidence for Dan Campbell and his crew, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, I mean, gosh, a lot of touchdowns were made in this game. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, stud, 110 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Puka Nacua, 181 yards. Surprisingly, Cooper Kupp wasn't more of a target in this one, but maybe that's why Nacua had so many yards.
You think Nacua will go undrafted in our fantasy draft next year?
Yeah, I doubt so. He probably will be a number 1 pick.
He might be. He might be up there with a Justin Jefferson or a Stephon Diggs, or
long as Stafford stays the quarterback, though.
That is also true. There hasn't been really much said about Stafford, if he's staying or if he's going. I imagine he's going to stay, but it'll be interesting once the offseason rolls around what moving and shaking will be going on with free agency. And finally, oh, this one is so absolutely tasty. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers pound the absolute crap out of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles only scoring 9 points, and if it wasn't for the Dolphins, that would be the worst amount of points for wildcard weekend, even though the Eagles were kept out of the end zone the whole time, including a tush push that failed to cross the goal line. Imagine that.
Yep, unstoppable until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't. Hats off to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hats off to Baker Mayfield, honestly.
Yeah.
The only reason they were able to get Baker was because he was cheap. Because, let's be honest, going into the season, the Buccaneers were in cap hell. That's putting it lightly, honestly. They needed someone cheap. They needed someone quick. And, I'll walk it back now. I made lots of jokes at the beginning of the season that this would be Kyle Trask's year. I thought Baker was washed. I thought he was done. He proved me wrong. Baker Mayfield is actually still around. And although I will say, you got to give a lot of credit to the Buccaneers defense, too. I mean, even without A.J. Brown, I mean, Philly was typically one of those teams that could find ways to score with the weapons they have. You still got Devontae Smith. You still got Dallas Goedert. You still got those running backs. You got DeAndre Swift. You still even got Julio Jones. They always forget he's on that team. This Buccaneers defense showed up to play, and they did phenomenal work keeping them out of the end zone.
Well, they did get a touchdown. They didn't go the extra point.
Oh, that's right. They did. Oh, darn it. All right.
They didn't do the 2 point.
That's right, because it was the 2-point conversion that the tush push failed. I remember now. So here's the funny thing. I fell asleep halfway through this game. I was just exhausted that day. But when I woke up, it was about the time. When was that? It was the Trey Palmer touchdown. That was about when I woke up. In the perhaps worst display of tackling from James Bradbury I'd ever seen in my entire life, and apparently in Ray Lewis's entire life too, according to the Manning cast.
Oh my gosh, he was not happy with it.
So, in a season where this was supposed to be the year of destiny for the Philadelphia Eagles, the field, the refs, the whole rigging and everything too. They go out and they get Jalen Carter. They make all these moves. They hire Matt Patricia as their defensive coordinator. This was the year. This was the year. And, hey, we said it at the beginning. Like, we truly believed that the Eagles were the team most fit to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. And I can proudly say I am glad I was wrong. I am so happy I was wrong.
Your hate. I think they live in your head there a little bit. There.
I'm not gonna say there was a certain coach after a regular season game that said "see ya" while walking up the tunnel, and then proceeded to absolutely fall apart for the last 6 games of the season in hilarious fashion. And all I gotta say is Philadelphia, I hope you got a good look at that Lombardi on the way out of Arrowhead, because it was looking downhill from there. Philadelphia, see ya. Feels so good.
I feel so sorry for Jalen Hurts, because I really like the guy. I really like him as a quarterback.
He's a great quarterback. He is.
Great guy. He's a good teammate. Mm-hmm. He isn't in your face pointing at stuff all the time.
Like Josh Allen?
Lying about stuff.
Like Josh Allen. Let me make this clear too. I am a fan of Jalen Hurts too. I mean, he helped me go nearly undefeated in my fantasy season one time. And I'm also a fan of Jason Kelce too, which, it's he hasn't confirmed it yet, but the rumor is, in fact, that he will be retiring as of this year too. He hasn't formally announced it yet, but the rumor is he says he's talked to his teammates and everything too. So the one person, like I said, I had the biggest grudge against was Sirianni. So because of that too. So, but now a good portion of the players there too, I do respect. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some players on there I'm like, yeah, I could care less about what you think. but Sirianni was definitely up on that list. But yeah, much love to Jalen Hurts. Much love to Jason Kelsey. Wish the best for Jason. Jalen Hurts will be back. Obviously, it's unfortunate about his finger and everything too. I hope he gets that healed up and it's gets his hand back to 100%. So we'll see if the Eagles can make another run of it next year. But man, it seemed like losing both of those coordinators, even though most Eagles fans wanted Gannon run out of town much quicker. Losing Stecken was a big thing for them too. It seemed like.
Oh yeah.
Especially when they got Matt Patricia as their defensive coordinator too, and we saw how bad that went.
Does he still have a job?
Who knows?
Him?
How has he not been Todd Haley'd out of the league?
He's not the guy. It was Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
It was Bill Belichick on defense and Tom Brady. Josh McDaniels? No, he had Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady. He did. Same with Bill O'Brien.
Yep. He did do some success, though.
He did. So, alrighty. But yes, that wraps up the Super Wildcard weekend. We are on to the divisional round, starting with the Saturday matchups. 3:30 is the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Houston Texans. Saturday night, the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Green Bay Packers, not the Dallas Cowboys. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go into Ford Field to take on the Detroit Lions Sunday afternoon at 2. And then the big one, the rematch. Round 3 in the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs go on the road in the divisional round to Buffalo, New York to take on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And fellas, you've been through the cold, you've been through the heat. Everyone thinks this is going to be Josh Allen's year. It's up to you guys to prove if that's going to be true or not. Defense, true. You've been doing phenomenal. Going to need you to step up big time this time. And that offense, there were some strides in the last game. It's going to be at least 40 degrees warmer, which is not saying much because it's still going to be 20 degrees out there too. Get that offense going. Keep the drops to a minimum. Keep those mistakes and turnovers to a minimum. And you've got a chance. You got a chance to go back to the AFC Championship game for a 6th consecutive year. And depending on if the Texans and Ravens, how that shakes out, could be at Arrowhead for a 6th consecutive year too. So, but got to focus on what's in front of you, and that's the Buffalo Bills. Go do it, gentlemen. Any final thoughts wrapping up this Super Wild Card weekend?
Anyone but the Chiefs.
I didn't know we had Jamar Chase guest on the podcast this week.
Oh, I will say it until it happens.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Well, that is our show this week, everyone. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all of your friends. And we will see you all next week for the divisional round recap. Have a good weekend, guys.